I know you're full, and I know it's Red Friday, and you might not be ready to get up for this game, but it's coming. The Los Angeles Rams are a wounded animal. Can they hurt the Kansas City Chiefs? We're going to get into it today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you enjoyed your day. We're recording this a little bit early, so we just want to say I hope that you had a good meal, and it's Friday now. It's Red Friday. We're going to get into this matchup, the X's, the O's, who's back and who's not, and how that affects this particular game, all today on your preview show, and then we're going to give you our predictions as well. We're brought to you by BetOnline. They are hosting today's episode, and they've got you covered this whole season with props, odds, lines, and everything you need to get your money in the game. It's BetOnline where the game starts. We're going to go through, I think, what are the big updates that we got just before the Thanksgiving holiday, what it means for this roster. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics, NFL 33, and RGR Football.
And yeah, he is everywhere, just so you know. I am Chris Clark. Thank you all for listening. And as Ryan said, we are recording this a little early, so we hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And from us to you, happy Thanksgiving if you're, just afterwards anyway. So a lot to talk about when we start talking about this game. Well, yeah, it's is going to be right. You said something to start the show of, can this team hurt the Chiefs? And I will say this. Yes, they can hurt them. Should they be able to hurt them? No. Can they hurt them? Yes.
There's about three guys that can hurt this team, and I'm not sure that they're going to get the opportunity. What we saw last week, we checked in yesterday. If you missed it, there was a crossover show with the Rams host. You want to check that out because we're all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for free. And if you would like another one, there's all kinds of draft implications going on that I'm talking about with Eric Crocker and John Harris every day. You can check that out on Locked On Draft. But they decided to go ahead and in a week where they're not going to have Matt Stafford. It has not been announced as we record this, but I know he's not going to play. I have it on good authority from multiple sources. It ain't happening. Their backup is hurt. They're going with a third-string quarterback. Allen Robinson is still MIA for most part. And then they decided to cut Henderson, one of their top two backs that you think that they might be able to rely on this offense on against the Chiefs. And I cannot explain. There's so many draft implications about what this front office is doing. Just this decision alone to cut a top back when you don't have anybody to throw the football, I can't explain it. I got nothing.
Well, and not only that, but you have Henderson out there who I think could be a valuable piece to some other organizations. You start looking, Kansas City could really use a guy like Henderson, and I'm not saying that I expect them to go out and get him, but I mean, I wouldn't mind it. He's great in pass protection. That's one of his strengths, and they're going to be missing that when it comes to this game. Well, comes to the rest of the season, I think that they're going to struggle if they're going to put Pacheco in there in passing situations. He's going to struggle. It's something he's got to get better at. We know that. We saw it in the game, and we can talk about that ad nauseum. But I agree with you. I don't expect that this team is going to hurt the Chiefs. I'm just more worried about Kansas City overlooking the game, trying to get ready for the Bengals game the week after. That's the scenario where I think they could hurt the Chiefs. If Mahomes has a bad game and they give up a special teams touchdown, which is what we talked about on the Thursday show, that also makes it a possibility. And with as bad as special teams is played, I'm not going to say it's out of the question.
Yeah, I cannot disagree with you because it's certainly within the realm of possibility. It's just, to me, how beat up and dilapidated their offense is. Special teams might be the only way that they score, I got to tell you the truth.
Well, good. And but the question is do the Chiefs do what the Chiefs do in games like this? This, to me, feels like the Colts game all over again. Yeah. That's my only concern. If Kansas City controls the ball and they hold on to the ball and they don't turn it over, I think that this is going to be a game that we're not going to even look back and worry about.
It could be. I mean, the matchups alone on the defensive side for the Chiefs offense are pretty crystal clear. We're going to get to those. But it's what the Chiefs defense has an opportunity to do here right now, because the Chiefs defense against this offense, as beat up and run down as it is, I think is going to be unique, let's say. The worst performance they got last week was from a fill-in left tackle in Bobby Evans. And so George Karlaftis, Dunlap, Clark, they're going to get theirs, but this is going to be an opportunity to get more pressure that we can really put up with, to tell you the truth. Now, they did have a fill-in come in and play pretty well at left tackle because two guys split there, but this offensive line is not robust. I mean, the ghost of Andrew Whitworth is still hanging out there. They wish they got him back. The defense is going to be one thing. We're going to talk about that, but for this Chiefs defense, how young it is and how young it's going, I think this is an opportunity to make a statement that, yes, we have grown to the point where if this is an inferior opponent, we can put them down and keep them down.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to be able to do in these types of games. And if they can do that, they're going to be in great shape for this game. I expect that this Chiefs team got a little bit of a wake-up call against the Colts, so I do not expect them to come out flat. I do think that they're going to be ready.
That's what it all comes down to, is attitude and whether they execute on that attitude.
And there's a ton of stuff that we need to talk about that came out in the practice reports for Wednesday and getting ready for practice on Wednesday. And we will get back to that here in just a moment after Ryan tells you about one of our sponsors.
Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, we are brought to you by PrizePicks today, and they're one of our newest sponsors. I know you guys dig them. It depends on what you expect. That's all it is. Right now, the line, as I look it up, 298.5 for Patrick Mahomes. All you have to do is make a decision. Do you think Patrick's going to go over that, or do you think Patrick's going to come in under that, more or less? Really, really simple. You take that, you string 2 to 5 players together into an entry, and then that entry gets put in. You have a chance to win up to 10 times the entry amount that you put there. That makes it easy. There's no competing against other people. It's not a lineup you have to constantly update. This is the easiest way to play daily fantasy sports, and that's what it comes down to. And it's not just football, although that's really all that matters. But there are all these other sports, including soccer. There's like a thing called the World Cup going on right now. You might want to get in on that. There's college football. There's basketball. There's disc golf. I think I understand how I would bet on disc golf. I haven't done that yet, but I think I might. And the entries are easy. They're under 60 seconds. They're safe, and they're fast withdrawals in 30 states plus Canada. It makes life simple. All you got to do is download the app, PrizePicks, at any app store, or go to prizepicks.com itself and play daily fantasy sports. With our code Locked On, if you put $100 in, you get $100 back. It's an instant 100% deposit bonus. Exactly what you put into it, you get doubled. That is with the code Locked On at prizepicks.com. Now, matchups-wise, it's a bare cupboard on the Rams offense. On the defense, it's not quite that kind of picture. They have this guy, y'all might have heard of him. His name's Aaron Donald. He wears 99. You know, it should be easy to pick out, right?
Should be, but he hasn't been playing up to his standard by any means. He's playing well for a defensive tackle, but he's not playing up to Aaron Donald's standards. So that's definitely going to be something to watch in this game. I do think that there is a big question mark as to how he's going to adjust. But the thing I like about this matchup for him is you have the Chiefs interior 3, which is their strongest part of their offensive line. And I feel very good about Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey and Joe Thuney going against Aaron Donald.
I completely agree with you. And I mean, let's be honest here. Aaron Donald's not playing up to Chris Jones's standard. That's the way it is. Right now, the Chiefs roll into this ballgame with the better defensive interior pass rusher. That's it. I'll say it. I don't care. It is what it is. Aaron Donald's got 36 pressures on the year. Chris Jones has 44. It's not particularly close. Chris Jones has almost doubled Aaron Donald's sack production, 9-5. And that's not a Dolly Parton song. That's just those numbers. But it's to the point where we're seeing the turning of the page in front of us and in this ballgame all at once. And I think that's what in the end, it all comes down to. He's not alone. There are a couple of other names you got to watch out for. Bobby Wagner, as aged as he is still playing very, very well.
He's playing very well.
Then you have Leonard Floyd popped his head up. He's not consistent, but he can go off in a ball game. He did that last week. I think what's really interesting to me is when you take a deeper look at it, you know, Taylor Rapp is still playing a lot of reps for this team. I like Taylor Rapp, but he's susceptible in a number of different ways that I think this Chiefs wide receiver crew in particular is in good position to take advantage of. And yes, Jalen Ramsey is still there. Jalen Ramsey is getting a little beat up this season as well. And I think especially against smaller, shiftier receivers, particularly Sky in this one. And if Kadarius Toney is able to return, he is still currently out as we record this with the hamstring. We'll see what happens. I think there's opportunity there to take advantage systemically like they did last week.
Yeah, and the big question, and one of the things we talked about in the crossover is, are they going to put Jalen Ramsey on Travis Kelce? That would be an interesting matchup. I'm not saying I expect Jalen Ramsey to lock down Travis Kelce, but and I said this on the crossover. To be quite honest with you, I don't think there's anybody in the NFL that can lock down Travis Kelce one-on-one.
That's Derwin.
Can they slow him down? Yes. Can they stop him? No. There's a big
Yeah.
difference there. So if you're in a situation where you have a guy like Travis Kelce, who the Rams are going to put on, if they put Jalen Ramsey, that's good for them if they think that he can slow him down. Problem is, Kansas City has shown that they can move the ball around to their other guys and they can get other guys involved, and the Rams aren't going to be able to slow that down. And we have a report that maybe Juju is going to be back for this game. We don't know.
Yeah, it's
which
crazy.
is surprising.
Let's run down the injury updates that we got here just before the holiday. It is that Lucas Niang is back. We'll talk about him in a minute. It is that Juju Smith-Schuster went out to practice on Wednesday. That is a progression through the protocol. Doesn't mean he practices in full. It is a test. You go out and the protocol says that you attempt to do practice. It's individual drills, it's stretch. And I believe it even allows for 7-on-7, but I don't have that confirmed. Then you come out of practice. There's no contact. There's no 11s on 11s.
And to be clear, if he does that, that is the last stage of the practice of the concussion protocol. So he is almost through the concussion protocol, which, as we're recording this, as we said, we're doing it a little early. So this is Wednesday that we're talking about this. If he does that, he has 2 more days that he could possibly practice and actually play in this game, which I will tell you, when they played on Sunday, I thought that there was no chance that Juju would possibly be in this game.
I still feel like it's a bit of a long shot. Particularly when we do everything that we just talked about in terms of the matchups. I don't know that you have to have Juju. Whereas against the Bengals, I think you want him.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree with that. The thing that I would argue is that if they're going to have, maybe they want Juju to come in and do 10 to 15, 20 snaps just to get him back in the feel of playing before he goes up against the Bengals. I completely understand what you're saying. They don't need him for this game. If you feel that it's better to sit him, sit him. I don't have a problem with that. When you start looking at the injury report, though, it's interesting to me because I didn't see a word about Juan Thornhill.
Mm-hmm.
And he went out. He was not – it wasn't a matter of him coming back in the game. It was he was out.
Yeah.
That's definitely interesting. In a close divisional game for him to go out, you would think that would be a more major injury that would keep him out of practice. But he's practicing today. Or he practiced – when we were recording this, he was scheduled to practice. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on IR. Joe Thuney and Kadarius Toney aren't practicing. So Juan Thornhill is back to practice. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that means whatever he did, he's recovered. And a lot of this league is about how you take care of yourself and how you replenish when you do have little nicks, injuries, whatever. It obviously wasn't severe enough to get on the report, so that's a big plus. There are a couple of guys that are on the report. And like we said, Lucas Niang did come back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually went to IR. And if you asked me at the beginning of the season if it was more likely who was going to miss games due to injury first, Clyde versus Jerick McKinnon, I would have picked McKinnon every time. So this is a development I think is bigger than we're letting on right to this point.
I don't know that I would have agreed with you on that based on Clyde's history in the past couple of years, but I understand why you would have thought that. And quite honestly, Clyde may be playing himself out of a job because of availability at this point. You're looking at, is he going to be back in Kansas City past the season? I don't know. If McKinnon keeps playing the way he's playing and they decide they want to bring McKinnon back because he's still a valuable part of this backfield right now. Could you go out and find another guy to do what he does? Yeah, maybe. But he gives you a great job in pass protection. He's very willing to stick his head in there and do that. And he's a great receiving back out of the backfield. And he can run the ball a little bit too. So there's a lot of value there. But then you have Pacheco, who's going to be the starter going forward. I don't think that there's any question at this point who the Chiefs' long-term starter is going to be. It's not going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire as much as we wished it could have been. It's going to be Pacheco.
Yeah, it seems like it is. What it means in the short term is that it's likely, and Andy Reid confirmed this on Wednesday, it's likely that we see Ronald Jones elevated to the roster. It's about time. A lot of folks have been really wanting to see this. This is his golden opportunity because I do think with everything that we've discussed about matchups, Chiefs have a likelihood to be playing with a lead, and maybe they can come back and lean on the run and let Rojo eat a little bit, see what he can produce if he can get in a rhythm. So I think this is great exploration in terms of making sure you have 4 backs at your disposal throughout the year that you can turn over through attrition and always have 2 or 3 ready to go.
Yeah. And we haven't even talked about the one that I think is the most interesting of all. You mentioned it and you said we'd come back. So let's go ahead and bring that up really quick. Lucas Niang is a really interesting one. Yeah. Is he going to be active for this game? I don't know. I don't expect him to start. I want to be absolutely clear on that. I do not expect him to start. But could he be active and could he get playing time? And maybe they look at him in playing time instead of Allegretti if they go six offensive linemen as they do at times.
Yeah. Well, and that's the fun thing is when the injury happened, we talked about it all offseason that I kind of predicted midseason return at the bye. Chiefs ended up with an early bye, so that kind of threw that out the window. But, if we were talking about week 12, could he return? Yeah, it's good timing. And the nice thing about the window that he's been in is they've used it all. This was the last day he could be activated. So they've taken it all the way up. They've used all their time. So it's more likely that because he's been back at a couple of practices, that he's closer to being in play shape. And maybe they can afford to put him out there for a series or something like that to knock some of the rust off, to see how he moves under contact, that kind of thing. I'm excited about it because as we've seen the last couple of weeks, whether it's Andrew Wiley or the primary backup now, Prince Tega Wadago, either way, there are serious issues still there. Does that mean that Lucas Niang can come in and fix them instantly? I don't know if I'm sold on that. Are you?
I'm not sold he can come in and fix them instantly. He's going to need some time to get back to playing shape. So the perfect scenario for me would be that they run Andrew Wiley out there, they get up by 3 TDs, and then they put in Niang and let him go for a couple of series. And if he's struggling, then you put Wiley back in. But if he's playing okay, you let him play as much as he feels like he can play and see what he's got and see what you're going to have going forward. I'm not saying that I expect him to be a starter. I want to be clear. I'm not expecting him to start the rest of the season or at any point during the rest of the season unless there's an injury. But if he plays well and he shows that he's ready to go, maybe he is a guy that can supplant Andrew Wiley. Wiley has struggled at times, and it would be a huge boon for this offense if they could have a strong offensive line from 1 to 5, which there's still going to be questions at left tackle, but that is what it is.
Yeah, there's no way around that. I'm looking forward to it, and that I think is going to help the bottom line and the end result in this ball game. We're going to talk about how that progresses and give you what we expect to happen, our predictions coming up next.
And I'm going to tell you about our newer friends over at SimpliSafe. If you've ever thought about securing your home with home security, but you've been putting it off, you want to listen up. Right now, Locked On Chiefs listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system for 50% off. This is their biggest offer of the year, and you won't want to miss it. Here's why I love it. It is awesome. You are able to get cameras for different parts of your house. You have a home monitoring system that they will monitor for you. This is a great package, and this is absolutely something you need to take a look at. Take a look at their advanced technology, whether it's controlling your system from your phone with the app, watching the crystal clear HD live stream of your security cameras, the wide variety of high-tech sensors, or anything else that they offer. SimpliSafe is absolutely where you need to go and try this system out if you are looking for a home security system. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real so you can get priority police response. SimpliSafe is a whole home security with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door. HD cameras for inside and out, smarter ways to detect motion that alert you only when the threat is real, and even hazard sensors that detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. 24/7 professional monitoring service costs less than $1 a day, less than half the price of ADT's traditional professionally installed system. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. To get 50% off any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/lockedon today. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
I got to admit, I'm feeling safe. That's the way that it comes down to. If SimpliSafe is guarding this particular ball game, I feel pretty good about it because it's just difficult to imagine the ability to put up points to even come close to hanging in with a fly in my studio. With Patrick Mahomes, especially after what we saw last week, where on a week that you thought they were going to be down, they're going to have less targets, they weren't going to have the tools they needed to be themselves. That went out the window. I feel like this is a game that they're going to be able to, unfortunately, make Andy happy, get up by a margin that he's healthily compliant with, and I'm not, and then they're going to coast. Do you see that happening as well?
Yeah, and that actually scares me. And it's not necessarily because I'm afraid that the Rams can come back, but I just don't like that mentality, and I've never liked that mentality. I've never enjoyed when Reed gets up 2 or 3 scores early and then coasts. And I said it on the crossover episode. That is a concern of mine in this game too, where I think that this is a game that the Chiefs could actually quite easily go out and score 40 points and maybe even 50 points. If they are able to find their groove on offense and they don't beat themselves at times, which is what they've done in a lot of cases this season on some of their drives, is they beat themselves. They have the ability to go out and score 40 points on this team, if not 50. It's going to be a game where they should be able to score 40 points pretty easily. And I don't think the Rams are going to put up more than maybe 10, maybe 14 points. I think that's really what it comes down to for me, is that unless they get a special team score or somebody makes a fumble and they return it for a touchdown, or Mahomes throws a pass that gets picked off because it hits the wide receiver in the hands, which that's happened quite a few times, actually.
Don't start.
I don't see the Rams putting up a lot of points because I don't think their offense is going to do it. Their offensive line is in shambles, and with their third-string quarterback missing Cooper Kupp. And you mentioned this earlier, and I didn't even get a chance to say anything about it. Allen Robinson is a guy I really wanted at Kansas City. I thought he could have been a guy that could come in and at least give you a very good number 2, if not a number 1 type wide receiver. He has not shown any of that in Los Angeles.
I'm baffled by it. And I know a lot of you guys are fantasy players as well. Like, I know a lot of folks made bets on him earlier, and I wasn't quite convinced. And I feel like I dodged a bullet there. I don't know what's going on. If you listen to the camp reports early, there was a lot of hubbub about how well he was fitting in and how the uniqueness of the McVay offense was suited to him. That has not materialized in any way, shape, or form on the field. Now, the Chiefs obviously are starting rookies in the secondary. Does that change this week? Possibly. I think in the end, it doesn't really amount to a whole lot. I think there's a special team score from the Rams. I think maybe Robinson is that guy that gets something on one of the rookies. But at the end, the mystique, the power of Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and whoever decides to step up that day is going to be overwhelming power. In the end, I see the Chiefs winning 28-17.
Interesting you're not going with a 100-point barn burner here. I don't understand. The last time these two teams played, scored over 100 points. No, I get it. You look at this game, and to me, it's quite obvious. I think that this should be a Chiefs victory. Looking at the rest of the schedule, the biggest game that they're going to have on their schedule is Week 13 against the Bengals, and then then the rest of them they should probably be favored pretty decently. In this one, it looks like they're favored 14 points. From what I think I saw on Twitter, they're favored more than 2 touchdowns against the defending Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me feel very comfortable, I'll be quite honest with you, just because that screams letdown. I do think Kansas City scores 30 points. I'm going to go probably 31-13 Kansas City.
Okay.
I do think it's going to be a multi-score game, and I don't think it's going to be particularly close, but I do think Kansas City is probably going to get to their 30-point number. And even if they're trying to slow it down, I still think they could get there, just because if they score 4 touchdowns in the first half and they try to pull back, I think that they're still going to score with some running touchdowns in the second, or at least get in field goal range.
Could easily be. Couple names to watch. The aforementioned Robinson. Van Jefferson is an underrated player in this offense, so keep an eye out for him. And they're going to, I think, give more touches to Kyren Williams. Obviously, that's part of the Henderson departure. Kyren Williams is crafty. If you saw him at Notre Dame, obviously he's a young player, but he's got something to him, so keep an eye out for him. What I'm looking for on the other side is the guy that I want to see more from right now. I don't care if Juju's out there. I don't care if Kadarius comes back and his hamstring's okay. I want to see Sky Moore get a second bite at the apple in terms of opportunity, and I want to see if he can continue to make those plays that we saw him get off to a great start with last week.
Yeah, and I want to see if he can build on the confidence that he had to have gotten from that game, because he had to have received a bunch of confidence just from being able to go out there and be effective, catch the ball, and execute. He said it, I don't know if it's a post-game presser or afterwards, but he said that one of the biggest things for him was being able to go out there and execute and showing that he belongs to play in this league. And the announcers are right. Sky Moore was giving the Chargers a problem. He was creating problems for them. And that's a great situation for Kansas City to be in. That is exactly what they need from Sky Moore. And I did think that he was going to come on more in the second half of the season than the first, just based on the way that Andy Reid usually gets rookies into this offense. So we will see if that trend continues. But I have to say, it really feels like the Rams could use another receiving option, maybe like a guy like Robert Woods or something. Oh, wait, he's in Tennessee.
No joy. No joy. And as much as, it's busy around New York and
yeah,
Dallas.
Yeah. Well, you have that too. And then it's funny because you sit here and you look at this game and you realize the Rams have 7 games left. And right now they would have a top 5 pick. Oh, but wait, they don't have their first round pick. So Detroit is going to be sitting on a potentially top 3 pick that they're not even going to have. The Rams can't even have.
Yeah, right. There are a lot of pluses in this ballgame, folks. It's going to be entertaining, so don't think that you should miss it. You want to be there and you want to be watching, and we're going to be live post-game for you like we are every week. So we will have the breakdown with Matt, Derek. We'll have it all covered. I hope that you're excited. Happy Red Friday. Hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving. Chris and I'm sure will have been very satisfied by this point when you guys are listening to this. So thanks for hanging with us. We'll catch you post-game. Talk to you then.